Beneath the cold, indifferent gaze of the moon, a secret once buried in the shadows of denial has clawed its way into the light. For decades, the US government dismissed UFO sightings as the fevered fantasies of conspiracy theorists, a mosaic of misidentified drones, weather balloons, and overactive imaginations. But now, in a chilling reversal, officials have conceded the unthinkable. Objects are moving among us, slicing through our skies with maneuvers that defy the ironclad laws of physics. These are not mere glitches in perception. They are enigmas, wrapped in velocity, acceleration, and trajectories that mock our understanding of aerodynamics, crafts that pivot at hypersonic speeds without sonic booms, hover without propulsion, vanish like phantoms. The admission is as thrilling as it is haunting, a crack in the dam of institutional secrecy that sends icy tendrils of doubt snaking through the public psyche. What are these entities? Machines of foreign adversaries, armed with physics-shattering technology decades beyond our own, or something else? Analysts dissect radar data, sensor logs, and pilot testimonies with forensic precision, yet the answers dissolve like smoke. Each frame of declassified footage, grainy, spectral, trembling, with static, feeds more questions than closure. The implications are vertiginous. If these phenomena originate beyond Earth, what ancient alien intellects pilot them? If terrestrial, what shadow wars rage in our stratosphere, unseen? The truth, whatever it is, lingers just beyond reach, a siren song humming in the static between stars. And so we are left suspended in a twilight realm, where science falters and the unknown whispers through the void. The skies, once a symbol of boundless human ambition, now brood with secrets, a silent, eerie ballet of the inexplicable, daring us to look up and wonder. Beneath the frozen, starless vault of an Alaskan night sky, a routine flight became a harrowing rendezvous with the inexplicable. On November 17, 1986, Japan Airlines Flight 1628A, hulking 747, freighted with cargo and seasoned crew cruised through the frigid expanse when the ordinary shattered. First Officer Takanori Tamafuji glimpsed them first. Two pulsing orbs of yellow-white, light searing through the darkness like fallen stars resurrected. They danced hunted around the aircraft, executing maneuvers that defied physics, sudden accelerations to hypersonic speeds, razor-sharp turns without inertia's drag, hovering with predatory stillness mere miles from the cockpit. These were no meteors, no tricks of auroral glare. Veteran pilots, their nerves steeled by decades of flight, felt a primal chill crawl down their spines. The objects pulsed, alive with intent, as though studying the 740 Fen or toying with it. Then the nightmare deepened. A second entity emerged, dwarfing the others, a colossal, obsidian mass studded with cold blue lights, its silhouette swallowing the ambient glow of the heavens. It slid into position behind the jet, a leviathan shadowing prey. For 14 agonizing minutes, it mirrored every evasive maneuver Captain Kenju Terauchi attempted, clinging to the 747 with inhuman precision. Radar screens at military installations and civilian towers alike flickered with confirmation. Unknown contacts, solid, tangible, undeniable. Yet when the ordeal ended, the objects vanishing as abruptly as they appeared, the data vanished too, siphoned into classified vaults in Washington, leaving only whispers and a trail of bureaucratic silence. What forces commandeered that Alaskan airspace? Advanced foreign drones, testing the edges of human engineering, or intelligences unbound by terrestrial logic, their motives inscrutable as their propulsion. The crew's testimony detailed, corroborated, stripped of hysteria collides with the void of official explanation. Radar returns suggest mass, velocity, and control beyond known aerodynamics. No nation claims the technology. No scientist dares theorize without scorn. The incident lingers like a phantom limb in aviation history, a rupture in reality where the possible and the impossible blur. To this day, the skies over Alaska brood with unanswered questions. Were those lights windows into another dimension, harbingers of a silent, observing presence, or merely the opening act of a shadow war fought with physics-shattering machines? The truth remains entombed in classified files, but the chill of that night endures, a haunting reminder that the universe, vast and indifferent, may hold witnesses to humanity's fragility and secrets that refuse to stay buried. Beneath the sterile glare of interrogation lights, three seasoned aviators, their voices steady, their accounts chillingly synchronized, painted a portrait of the impossible. Separated, questioned, stripped of context, the crew of JAL Flight 1628 recounted the same nightmare in vivid clinical detail. The searing yellow-white orbs, the Leviathan shadow with its cold blue gaze, the silent dance of physics-defying maneuvers. Their testimonies interlaced like gears in a clockwork horror, no contradictions, no embellishments, only the grim precision of shared trauma. Yet, in the aftermath, authorities weaponized the absurd. Mars, they declared. Jupiter, as if seasoned. Pilots, navigators of star-charted skies, could mistake planets for luminous entities that paced their Boeing 747, close enough to feel alive. Radar blips, radio transcripts, the trembling voices of air traffic controllers, all were dismissed as cosmic mirages, swallowed by the grinding machinery of institutional denial. The silence that followed was louder than the event itself. Captain Kenju Terauchi, First Officer Takanori Tamafuji, and Flight Engineer Yoshio Tsukubaman, once celebrated for their stoic professionalism, retreated from public view like ghosts into fog. No press conferences, no defiant memoirs, only rumors of hushed meetings and unmarked cars. Were they coerced, broken by the weight of the inexplicable, or had they glimpsed something so shattering that silence became their only refuge? The official narrative, polished to a hollow sheen, offered no answers. Files vanished into labyrinthine archives, questions met with taut smiles and rehearsed deflection. A cover-up, yes, but of what? Here lies the fracture in reality. When credible, witnesses, radar echoes, and raw human terror align, yet are buried beneath the patronizing fiction of celestial misidentification, the truth curdles into something darker. Was this a rehearsal for future encounters, a blueprint for gaslighting the masses, or evidence of a hidden world where shadow governments broker uneasy truces with forces beyond comprehension? The crew's withdrawal mirrors a broader vanishing. Act the erasure of inconvenient truths from collective memory. Their absence screams louder than their testimony ever could. To this day, the skies over Alaska whisper of that nighter riddle, wrapped in bureaucracy, sealed with fear. What ancient game unfolds above us, witnessed only by those deemed expendable? And what price must one pay to silence not just men, but the very stars they swore to navigate? The answers linger in the static of dead airwaves, in the hollows where three voices once dared to speak before the world turned away, preferring the comfort of lies to the haunting weight of the unknown. On May 9th, 2001, in a dimly lit conference hall thick with the static of anticipation, a man stepped into the light to unravel a tapestry of lies woven over decades. John Callahan, a former FAA investigator, his voice edged with the gravel of a man who'd stared too long into the abyss of bureaucracy, shattered his secrecy pledges with the cold precision of a whistleblower who'd finally snapped. Before a hushed audience at the Disclosure Project, he unveiled artifacts of the impossible, classified radar logs humming with erratic blips, frantic air traffic control recordings choked with disbelief, and hand-drawn sketches of crafts that resembled nothing human. These were not blurry photos or drunken campfire tales. This was forensic evidence, pried from the obsidian vaults of the US government, proof of something streaking through Alaskan airspace in 1986 with contempt for physics, for reason, for the fragile certainty of human dominion over the skies. Here, revelation was a grenade lobbed into the public sphere. Callahan recounted a chilling high-level meeting from the Reagan-era, where shadowy figures in crisp suitsmen with titles but no name sworded every scrap of the JAL 1628 incident buried. Files vanished, witnesses were silenced. The official record became a graveyard. Yet Callahan, a rogue thread in the loom of secrecy, had secretly preserved copies, smuggling truth through the cracks of a system designed to annihilate it. Why? Guilt? Defiance? Or the gnawing dread that humanity was not alone and those in power knew it? The implications curdle the blood. If Callahan's evidence corroborated by radar, radio, and the trembling hands of seasoned pilots was genuine, what were those crafts? Black-budget leviathans, dancing on the edge of known science, or vessels from elsewhere, their origins and agendas locked behind the icy calculus of classified briefings? The Reagan-era order to seal the incident suggests a truth too volatile. For daylight, a cosmic Pandora's box that could unravel religion, geopolitics, the very fabric of human arrogance. Yet here's the haunting twist. Callahan's defiance changed little. The files he risked everything to expose were met with bureaucratic shrugs, dismissed as relics of Cold War paranoia. The crafts, if they exist, still glide through the dark, unbothered, and the question lingers like a ghost. How many others, like him, are out there, clutching fragments of the truth, waiting for a moment when the world might finally listen? The answer whispers in the static of dead frequencies, in the shudder of radar screens, tracking voids that shouldn't move, and in the quiet resolve of those who know the sky's deepest secret. We are not the only ones watching. Beneath the ink-black skies of the North Pacific on December 21st, 1986, the Kaomaru, a Japanese scientific vessel, bristling with cutting-edge radar, stumbled into a spectral ballet that would haunt the annals of maritime mystery. The sea was calm, the night unremarkable, until the screens erupted with a phantom, a colossal 300-meter diameter something, hurtling at 5,000 kilometers per hour, a speed reserved for ballistic missiles and meteors. Yet when crewmen rushed to the decks, squinting into the void, there was nothing. No wake, no silhouette, no shimmer of heat, just the radar's implacable blip, painting the impossible. For hours, the entity played a maddening game of cosmic peekaboo, vanishing and reappearing 3 times, each return more defiant than the last. Engineers scrambled, testing circuits, recalibrating systems, but the equipment hissed back cold. Clinical certainty. No error, no malfunction. The sea held its breath. Here was a riddle wrapped in science, published years later in a peer-reviewed journal, a rare stamp of academic legitimacy on the paranormal. The data was irrefutable, and the invisible behemoth, mass without form, velocity without friction, dancing at the edge of human perception. Was it a cloak of advanced stealth technology, bending light and radar alike, or a fracture in reality itself, a window into dimensions where matter obeys different rules? The Kaomaru's logs read like a Lovecraftian fever dream, where instrumentation betrays the naked eye, and the ocean becomes a theater for forces that mock Newtonian logic. The implications are vertiginous. If such entities move among us, unseen yet tangible, what else slips through the cracks of human observation? The incident mirrors other Cold War-era enigmas, JAL 1628, Rendlesham Forest, suggesting a pattern of intelligences toying with our senses, probing our thresholds of fear and curiosity. Yet unlike shadowy government conspiracies, The Kaomaru case was dissected in the harsh light of academia, its data scrubbed of hysteria, its credibility armored by peer review. This was no drunk sailor's yarn, it was a mathematical ghost, a paradox inscribed in ones and zeros. To this day, the phantom of the Kaomaru lingers a siren song for skeptics and believers alike. What forces commandeered that patch of Pacific? Why reveal themselves to machines but not to flesh? And what chilling message lies in their choice of audience? A vessel of science, armed with tools to measure but not comprehend the unfathomable. The sea keeps its secrets, and the radar screens of the world hum quietly, eternally vigilant, waiting for the next breach in the veil, when the invisible once again becomes undeniable. The silent, irradiated expanses of New Mexico's deserts and the shattered husk of Fukushima's reactors share a haunting secret. They are stages for a spectral audience. Since the first atomic fires bloomed over Trinity Site in 1945, something has lingered at the edges of humanity's most destructive power, UAPs, drawn like moths to the flame of nuclear ambition. Over test sites, where the air still hums with half-life whispers, pilots report luminous orbs pacing missiles mid-flight, their movements a silent critique of our arrogance. At Fukushima, after the 2011 meltdown turned the plant into a tomb of twisted steel, security cameras captured eerie, self-illuminated spheres drifting through radioactive entities unbothered by the lethal glow, dancing in the ruins as if inspecting a failed experiment, the pattern is too precise to dismiss. Are these watchers custodians of a cosmic order, alarmed by our reckless flirtation with annihilation, or scavengers studying the fallout of a species drunk on its own power? Skeptics mutter about sensor ghosts, lens flares, the paranoia of trauma, but how to explain the cold calculus of their timing? At Los Alamos, Malmstrom Air Force Base, Chernobyl, the correlation chills. Where humanity splits the atom, they appear, not as invaders but as observers, their motives shrouded in plasma-like light. The footage from Fukushima is particularly damning sleek. Synthetic shapes caught on tape, looping through contaminated skies with purpose. No government debunks these images. They simply seal them behind classifications, fearing not panic, but revelation. What if the truth is not that they fear our nukes, but that they monitor them? That our wars and meltdowns are but a sinister ballet, performed for eyes we cannot see, minds we cannot fathom. The reactors hum, the cameras roll, and in the static between frames, the watchers linger patient, inscrutable, and hauntingly aware of what we refuse to admit. We are not alone in the dark, and we are not in control. On June 25, 2021, the US government tore a jagged hole in the veil of denial it had meticulously woven for generations. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence, in a report stripped of flourish and dripping with bureaucratic sterility, delivered a thunderbolt. 144 encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena spanning 17 years now lay dissected on the slab of official scrutiny. One was a balloon. The rest, 143 fractures in reality, defied explanation. Among them, at least 18 incidents screamed of technologies unshackled from the chains of known physics, craft accelerating from hypersonic velocities to dead stops in seconds, pivoting against hurricane-force winds without wings or thrust, vanishing into thin air like smoke. These were not glitches nor misidentified drones. These were machines, or something far stranger, performing a choreography of the impossible above military airspace, nuclear facilities, and the open ocean, as if taunting humanity's pretensions of dominion over the skies. The report's clinical language only amplifies its horror. Phrases like flight characteristics inconsistent with known propulsion and no discernible method of lift read like autopsy notes for the corpse of human certainty. Pilots, seasoned, laser-focused, recounted objects that pulsed. with intent, morphing shapes mid-flight, emitting no exhaust plumes, no heat signatures, no sound. Radar operators watched in real time as blips tore through Mach 5, then dissolved like static. The government's own analysts, shackled to the scientific method, could only shrug. Here was data, not delirium. Evidence, not myth. Yet the true terror lies in what the report doesn't say. Who or what commands these crafts? If foreign adversaries, why flaunt such physics-shattering tech without deploying it? If natural phenomena, why the patterns, the precision, the haunting recurrence near sites of strategic power? The silence is a scream. Behind closed doors, whispers swirl of anti-gravity propulsion, quantum tunneling, technologies ripped from the pages of sci-fi, or worse, something utterly alien to human conception. The report's conclusion: UAP pose a safety risk and may pose a national security challenge, feels like a confession whispered through gritted teeth, and so we hover in limbo. The government's reluctant disclosure is not closure, but a crack in the dam, widening with each leaked cockpit video, each pilot's trembling testimony. The skies, once a symbol of human triumph, now seethe with riddles. Are we witnessing the opening salvos of a silent invasion? The surveillance of a civilization deemed reckless with its own annihilation? Or merely the latest act in a cosmic game older than recorded history? The 2021 report offers no answers, only shadows, and the gnawing certainty that the truth, when it comes, will rewrite not just science, but the story of what it means to be human in a universe suddenly, terrifyingly alive with eyes we cannot see. In the labyrinthine corridors of power, where classified briefings flicker on screens like funeral candles, a single question gnaws at the spines of generals and presidents alike. What stalks the edges of our most guarded secrets? From the scorched silence of Nevada's nuclear test ranges to the electric hum of submarine pens beneath the Arctic ice, unknown craft glide with impunity, phantoms breaching airspace, defying radar, hovering with mocking precision over silos, brimming with apocalyptic firepower. The Pentagon's nightmares now wear two faces. One, advanced drones, born in hidden labs of rival nations, armed with propulsion systems that shred the known limits of physics, a silent arms race leaping decades ahead in the shadows. The other, something older, colder, other, whose motives dissolve like smoke in the face of human logic. The security implications are a double-edged sword. If these entities are terrestrial, every incursion is a screaming red siren. A rival has cracked the code of inertia, mastered energy sources that could vaporize cities or cripple grids with a flicker. Imagine hypersonic shadows, undetectable, unloading AI swarms into the heart of NORAD before the first coffee is poured at the Oval Office. Yet the alternative chills deeper. Extraterrestrial. The word itself is a key turning in a rusted lock. Craft that treat F-22s like Stone Age tools that float above missile fields not to destroy, but to observe, to study our rituals of self-annihilation like anthropologists documenting a suicidal tribe. Herein lies the existential vertigo. How do you wage war against an enemy that doesn't bleed, that ignores your borders, your weapons, your very reality? The 2021 UAP reports, sterile prose, no attribution, anomalous characteristics, veils a primal scream. Secure facilities designed to withstand EMPs and cyber attacks are naked against these intruders. Pilots briefed to die for their country now jot down coordinates of crafts that outpace their bullets, outthink their missiles, outlast their courage. And so the war rooms hum with dread, not of invasion, but of irrelevance. Are we lab rats in a cosmic experiment? Pawns in a game where the board itself is alien? Or worse, Are we the last to know that the age of human sovereignty is already over, our nukes and firewalls reduced to relics in a new epoch's museum? The skies offer no answers. Only the hum of engines not made here, and the terrible knowledge that our defenses, our pride, our certainty, are little more than dust in an uncaring universe's eye. In the shadowed silence between truth and denial, a generation of pilots and insiders clutch their stories like live grenades, primed to detonate careers, reputations, even sanity. These are not wide-eyed amateurs chasing mirages, but battle-hardened aviators, their wings earned in the furnace of combat and the precision of test flights. They've seen crafts pirouette through Mach 10, vanish into clouds like sentient smoke, hover with predatory stillness above aircraft carriers. Yet when the debriefers come, clipboards in hand, they swallow their words. To speak is to risk more than clearance or pension. It is to step into a labyrinth of sidelong glances, dead-ended promotions, and the slow erosion of one's name into a punchline. The silence isn't cowardice, it's survival. And so, the sky's darkest secrets fester in the vaults of their throats, while the public's imagination festers with rumors, half-truths, and the gnawing sense that something is being withheld. The dance of denial is a masterclass in gaslighting. Official press releases drip with condescension, weather balloons, swamp gas, Venus in retrograde, as if Top Gun graduates couldn't distinguish planets from objects pacing their jets at 50,000 feet. Media outlets, ever eager to straddle the line between mockery and intrigue, reduce cosmic enigmas to clickbait, splicing cockpit footage with snarky captions. Yet for every smirk, there's a radar operator sweating through a classified deposition, a technician scrubbing data from a server at midnight, a family pleading with a once-decorated pilot to stop talking, stop dreaming, stop remembering. The dissonance is a weapon. When authorities dismiss what their own instruments record, when eyewitnesses are recast as unreliable narrators of their own trauma, the public is thrust into a hall of mirrors. Every reflection a lie, every echo a taunt. What blooms in this void is a cultural phantom limb, a global subculture of obsession, where forums hum with pixelated footage and wild theories, where the line between researcher and addict thins to a thread. Governments decry misinformation while hoarding the very data that could dispel it, perpetuating a cycle of distrust as old as Roswell. The pilot's silence becomes a Rorschach test, proof to some of a cover-up, to others of collective delusion. Yet the cost is human. Men and women who once soared as heroes now haunt VA halls and anonymous message boards, their eyes hollowed by the weight of the unspeakable. Some break, leaking fragments to wide-eyed podcasters. Others take their stories to graves, etched only in unsealed files and the trembling hands of widows. And so, the truth becomes a ghost, felt but unseen, shaping culture from the shadows. Blockbusters and novels feed on the hunger it creates, turning existential dread into popcorn spectacle. Religions splinter into cults worshipping celestial saviors. Skeptics weaponize Occam's razor, slicing away anomalies too sharp to fit their worldview. Yet night after night, the silence persists, heavy with the whispers of those who've glimpsed the impossible. Their unspoken testimonies hang in the air like static, a frequency just beyond hearing, reminding us that the greatest mystery isn't in the stars, but in the choice to bury what we fear to face. The sky watches indifferent as we fracture into believers and scorners, united only by the chilling truth that somewhere, someone knows exactly what's out there, and swore an oath to never tell. The night sky is not empty. It thrums with static between stars, a chorus of unanswered questions humming just beyond the reach of telescopes and textbooks. You've glimpsed the edges now, the crafts that mock physics, the watchers in the irradiated. Dark, the truths buried in classified vaults. But this is not the end, it is a threshold. Beyond lies a labyrinth of shadows where government files rustle with redacted whispers, where pilots' silenced testimonies echo like ghosts in hangars, where every radar blip could be a key or a lock. To turn away now is to surrender to the lie that all is explained, that the universe bends to the arrogance of our understanding. Don't look away. Subscribe. Let that click be a pact, a vow to stare unflinching into the abyss where science, falters and secrets breed. Each notification will be a flare in the gloom, illuminating fragments of a puzzle older than civilization itself. You'll join ranks with those who dare to ask, what else is out there? Who refuse to let bureaucracies bury wonder beneath jargon and denial. This is not passive consumption, it's a hunt. A descent into the underworld of suppressed data, whispered encounters, and phenomena that lick at the edges of your screen like static from the void. The truth is not lost. It's hiding in the flicker of a cockpit camera, the tremor of a nuclear engineer's voice, the patterns only the mad or brave connect. Will you chart these depths, or let others define the boundaries of reality for you? The choice is binary. Succumb to the flat, safe lie of the explained, or click, subscribe, and step into the only story that matters, the one they don't want told. The Sky Watchers, will you?